What's up, nerds? Welcome back. So I was supposed to do this review last night, and then I got tired, and then I was supposed to do it earlier, and then I got busy. So let's just go ahead and stop wasting time and talk about Radiant Black number 9. Alright, so I do have to say, from the outset on this issue is actually kind of heartbreaking for the majority of it, but it does give at least a slight glimmer of hope right at the end. So we're just going and get into it, right? So we see where Marshall is kind of going throughout his daily routine, and we're going to see him proceed to go through this same process pretty much every day. He wakes up in the morning, he takes a shower, makes his bowl of cereal, smokes a joint, and then goes and sits outside to be harassed by these kids that like walk by and shit and will talk shit to him. So I mean, on this day they're like calling him douche tool, like you grow a life yet, loser. And he's like, says the guy in the hoodie trying to look all mysterious. Newsflash, Bucko, she's still never gonna sleep with you because there's one girl in like the group or whatever. So like the only person Marshall sleeps with is his mom. Did she pour you your little like Cheerios and shit? And he's like, nah, I poured them from the box your mom brought over here. Have some. So the girl is like, fuck you, Marshall. And he's like, his mom already did that. So he goes from there to where we see like the other part of his routine is obviously like going to work and shit. And we see that the other girl that like works with him is talking about like, why did you buy all of these bath bombs and shit? Like, we're not going to be able to like sell them all and all that crap. Or no, she's sitting there watching Circle Guy News. Later on is when like the whole bath bombs thing happens. But yeah, this whole Circle Guy News, which I've been told is apparently like an actual thing. I didn't know that those were real people. Apparently they are. So go figure. The more you know. Anyway, so this is where he goes over and he was kind of like talking shit to her, like, you really listen to those guys because they're kind of like talking shit on him as the Radiant and shit. So obviously he has a little bit of a beef. But then we see where he goes over to the hospital because this is his other like daily routine where he goes to visit Nathan. And so we can see where his parents are like, well, Nathan's parents are at the door, kind of like just watching him talking to Nathan, like where he's saying, like, don't worry, like, you're gonna wake up and we're gonna go back to like just doing things like we were before, like, we're just gonna go on living our lives. Nothing's gonna change, man. So again, same thing. Wakes up, gets harassed by the kids. What does they say this time? So they're like, "Oh, look, it's the does nothing dick ass." He's like, "Says the virgin's graduating in a false economy." And they're like, "How do you even live with yourself? Seriously, you're such a cuck." So he's like, "Sorry, I couldn't hear you over the sound of everyone skipping your Instagram stories," which I'm assuming is that's a slight nowadays, right? To like this new generation, that's an insult. Yes, I don't know. Anyway, so they're saying like physical media sucks. He's like, oh, there's a new TikTok challenge you should check out. It's called "Go Fuck Yourself." So now again, he goes back to the hospital to go see Nathan, and now he's also watching like that Circle Guys news and everything, and he's just also kind of like talking shit on them, saying like, you see, this is the shit I'm dealing with. These content creators, I mean, who the hell are these guys? Oh, they'll slam us hourly but have no problem ripping off our logo. Like, they think they could possibly know what's really going on. Dude, ever since Cosmic Iron Giant pulled the 101 guy into my chest, he's been silent. I can't even get an answer about what the hell's going on. So that's where like Nathan's dad comes in and is kind of talking to him and says like, you know, trouble at the store, and he's telling him like, yeah, customers these days just don't get it. They want new and different, but also familiar and comfortable, and God forbid you don't give them what they think they want on their timeline. So that's where his dad tells him like, well, in my experience, you can worry about changing perception, or you can worry about something that actually matters. So he's just saying like, huh, yeah, that's probably a really good point and shit. So now he goes over to talk to those cops who kind of like came and told Nathan that they knew like what that he had powers and shit. And now he's kind of telling them like, look, I don't like y'all, and they tell him like, yeah, we don't like you either. He's like, whatever, like pigs roll in shit. They don't have good taste anyway. So he's saying like, look, here's the thing. I'll help y'all get a promotion by like doing some of the great shit. And he's saying like, I took over as you know who, and I really need to change perception back because technically I didn't do anything wrong. I'm actually great. I saved the world, probably. You help me look better, I help you get promoted, just like before. What do you say? And they're like, nah. And the other one's like, call us if Nathan wakes up and shit. So then we see where he's flying over, and at first I thought like this was just a caption or whatever, but apparently it's like a banner that he was actually making, and people were reading it causing them to, obviously get into like a car crash and shit. And apparently it was like a 10-car pileup. So he's saying like, all right, fine. In your defense, these roads should have been salted, which is a thing that I'm assuming people up north deal with. We never have, well, we have had snow very rarely down here in South Texas. It's happened like a few times in my lifetime, but never enough for like the roads to get this bad. So we've never had to worry about salting the roads, but I know that's a thing that y'all have to deal with up there. Anyway, so then we see where he's at work, and then all of a sudden, what's her name? Satomi, the one who's the red one, she shows up and is kind of talking to him, and he's very abrasive towards her because if you remember, she's basically the reason why Nathan is in the hospital. So he's just kind of saying, like, what do you want? Come to admire your handiwork? She's like, no, come on, I just thought we should talk. He's like, why would I want to talk to you? And that's what she says, like, you told Wendell that things were fine. He's like, no, not what I said. I said fine, for now. Meaning I won't kill you for now, even though I really should kill you for what you did. And she's like, whoa, come on, just come on. She's like, look, we all got off on the wrong foot, okay? I never should have hit him when he first showed up. I shouldn't have taken his car or his mail. So he's like, or absorbed my phone. You took his mail? Well, that was kind of weird, yeah, because they hadn't revealed that she took his mail for whatever reason. She's like, it was just one of those junk loan offers, like those fix anything. It had his address. Look, the bottom line is there's a lot I regret, and I came to say I'm sorry. So he's like, you're going to have to do better than that. So he like takes her to the hospital and shit and is like, this is Nathan. So she's just kind of there like, hi Nathan, like, it's nice to meet you and shit. So you can see like from the look on her face, like she's kind of getting it. So from there we see where Marshall is walking with some other guy. That's not Nathan. So he's walking with him. Is like the other dude saying like they're saying it's casting now for a spring shoot because they're talking about Cowl, that other thing that Kyle Higgins wrote, that other series, which I do really like. It's a really cool series. And then he's talking about like they're casting for it now, like they're gonna make a movie or a show or whatever. And he's like, they've been saying that for years, dude. We're never getting a live action Cowl. He's like, dude, I just read about it. He's like, where? Dark Horizon? That dude's so hit and miss. He's like, no, it's in Wizard magazine. So he's like, yo, for real? Let me see that. So he's like, no, dude, last time I gave you my copy, you cracked the spine and shit, so I just bought you a copy. So he's like, all right, perfect. So then they're talking about who's getting cast for Grey Raven. The friend says Ralph Fiennes. He's like, ugh, no, Daniel Day-Lewis, dude. He would never do it. So he's like, have they asked? If Ralph Fiennes gets cast, they better Doug Ray Scott him. He's like, ouch. So I really don't know. Like, I really don't think this is Nathan, but it kind of looks like it could be him. He just doesn't have his hair the same way. So then we do this thing. I don't really like this part where they show Marshall going through all of these different super fights, but it's just not really showing us the whole fight. It's really just kind of him encountering them, and then usually for the rest of these, it's just him like once he's beaten them and shit. So this particular one, he's saying like, wait, Doppler? Like the sound dude from Cowl? So I guess that's kind of like the carryover here. So the dude's like, so? He's like, yeah, whatever. Don't respect what came before. Cool. But as long as I'm around, we're going to seriously monitor this knockoff situation. You have my word. It's now my mission to be there in case this dick-ass ever shows her face again. Although I have a feeling after this SmackDown today, we won't be hearing, pun absolutely intended, from her again anytime soon. And then we see where they immediately, she's like back again. He's like, seriously? And he's saying like, now you're just trying to make me look like an asshole. So again, this is like the whole bath bombs thing where she's like, why did you order even more of them? Like, we're having trouble moving them. And then he's at the bar drinking and everything. We see where he goes and he's like at the hospital with Nathan, taking out another villain and shit. And then we see where he's taking out one more before this like particular thing goes. Like I said, we're just kind of going through that whole like montage of every day's kind of the same, except like the villains are always a little bit different. Although he does at one point say like, has anyone noticed that there are a lot of people like running around in super suits and helmets and shit? Like someone should look into that. So anyway, we see where he goes to the hospital, and on this day, it's I think Nathan's like ex-girlfriend or whatever who's there like when he walks into the room and shit. So she's saying like, or he's saying like, I should have called you sooner. She's like, it's not like Nathan and I stayed friends. He's like, yeah, but like, I don't know. I'm sorry, JJ. You guys were together a while. If I had been thinking strange, she's like, it's okay. I'm glad I got to come in now. Seems like there hasn't been too much of a change. So he's like, oh, he's got way drier wit. It's like really coming along as a straight man. Now he barely twitches when I talk. So she's like, how often are you there? And he says, I try to make it for at least an hour. She's like, a week? He says, no, a day. So she's like, wow. And he's just telling her, like, there's important stuff to keep the man abreast of, like his ex-girlfriend planning to fly in. She's like, oh, so you told him? And he says, of course I told him. A guy needs a heads up if his ex is coming into town. Although if anything was going to snap him out of it, the shock of you here might have had a shot. So she's just saying like, you've always looked out for him, haven't you? And he's like, well, somebody had to. So he's saying like, you mean not everyone has their own designated fan club? Huh? I think I solved it. And she's like, solved what? He says like, oh, I'm gonna be late for work. She's like, there. And he's like, yeah. Oh, I wasn't complaining. So he goes into work, and then we see where he's also talking to the Circle Guys News, where he's trying to like pitch to them like, how about y'all start selling merch for us, and that'll like give y'all more legitimacy that you're kind of like using our logo and shit like that. So one of them is just saying like, well, can't you like take us flying? He's like, no, that's not happening. So they end up saying like, to be fair, that's not like currency we can spend, because they're asking like, well, what's in it for us? He says access. He says, to be fair, that's not like currency we can spend. They're like, it's shit. You want us to turncoat for shit? We can't be an independent news outfit if we're selling your merch. And so he's like telling them like, look, it's not like it's not selling out if it's for a good cause. And they're saying, sorry, how is this a good cause? And what exactly is the cause? A real argument could be made that you're causing more problems than you're solving, especially if the rumor about where all this villain tech, he's like, I'll give you a percentage and follow you on Twitter. So then we see where they have this thing where it's literally like it has, and yes, this is a real QR code. I don't know if you can actually like scan it from here. I'll try to hold it as straight as I can just for a few seconds. And maybe if you hold your phone up to the screen and shit, it'll actually catch it. But yeah, that's a real QR code, because yes, they do have actual merchandise now. I checked it out, and yeah, sure enough. So then we go to this next scene where Marshall's kind of sitting and he's kind of like writing sort of like almost a Sin City type of story. So he's doing that whole thing. It's kind of cute. And then we see where he's writing the whole thing, and then all of a sudden the ghost of Nathan shows up to like scare him. He's like, yo, what the hell? He's like, miss me? Dude, that's what you think Elizabeth would do? Honestly, that's kind of amazing. I totally should have thought of that. So Marshall's saying, I'm dreaming, aren't I? Because, yeah, this place was destroyed, and I'm dreaming, aren't I? So Nathan tells him, like, yeah. He's saying, I wish I wasn't and everything. He's like, I know, me too. But that's not the way life works. I know you're hurting, but it's okay, man, really. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I promise. And then this is where we see, like, it goes on to, I'm assuming the next day, where Nathan's mom gets like news from the doctors that, yeah, it's time to just go ahead and disconnect him. So she's calling, I'm assuming, the dad and everything. And then this is the one day where those kids are walking by and shit, but Marshall isn't there. Or at least he's not outside, because we see he's inside just day drinking and shit while he's watching like the Cowl movie. That's why I'm saying I think that earlier thing was a flashback with Nathan, because now we see where they actually have like the Cowl movie or whatever the hell. So he's watching that on TV, and then someone is saying like, Cowl's not what it used to be, what it was supposed to be. And they're saying like, well, nothing ever is. And he's like, true words, never been. And so he's like, damn it, God. He's like, fucking damn it. And that's when Nathan shows up again as a ghost. He's like, it's okay, dude. It's all good. So he's like, starts crying. He's asking him, why? Why does this have to happen? I don't want it to. And he's saying, I know. But hey, look at that. You were right. It didn't end up being Ralph Fiennes. Sometimes it takes a minute for the right person to land the role. And when I read that, I was like, oh, I get it. This was what you were always working towards. You were always working towards Marshall being in this role and shit. So he's saying like, God damn it, that's the most you line ever. So he keeps crying, and then Nathan asks him like, do you want to go for a walk? And so we see where they're doing like they used to. They're kind of like just walking around town and shit. Nathan, as you can see, like from his expressions and the way that he's kind of like motioning and everything, he's just kind of imagining Nathan being his regular happy-go-lucky normal self and everything, which is just depressing Marshall more and more. So he eventually ends up at the hospital, goes inside like where they're talking to Nathan's parents, saying like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and go through, we're going to ask you more questions after we disconnect him, but we'll walk you through this step by step. So they're like, all right. And then they tell him like, we, gave him morphine and Ativan so he won't be in any pain at all. And then they start like taking out the like breathing tube. And all of a sudden Marshall's just like, wait, hold on. I know I have it. And he looks through his phone, and also he's like, wait, put it back. And they're like, wait, what's going on? And he's like, there's still a chance. He's still alive. I can save him. And this is where his mom, like Nathan's mom, all of a sudden decides to lose her shit. And she's like, stop it. Just stop. Like, there's Jesus Christ, Marshall. Like, there's nothing you can do for him and everything. And the doctor's saying, like, yo, Marshall, I get it, but you need to calm down or we're going to have to ask you to leave. So the mom keeps crying even more, saying, like, they're going to take my baby and all of that. Like, why does this have to happen? And he starts freaking out. So Marshall runs outside. And then this is where he starts yelling out, to the entity that he relies on for his powers, saying, like, he's alive, isn't he? Like, talk to me, you son of a bitch. And like, it won't answer him and everything. And then this is where he kind of like explains it by saying, like, I remembered everything that was written in here, like on my phone or whatever, as part of the script. I remember it word for word, but I didn't write it. Nathan wrote it. Like, and I never read it. So how can I possibly have known everything that was in it word for word in my dream when I've never actually read it? So that's when he's like, all right, you still won't answer me? Fine. We'll do it the hard way. So he goes over to the like train tracks and shit, and he decides to play chicken with the alien entity where he's like, you know what? If you won't talk to me, I know that this will force you to talk to me. So you're going to have to come out and talk to me. He's like, I'm not getting off these tracks until we do. So the train gets closer and he's like, God damn it, if I die, it absolutely affects you. Maybe somebody worse than me bonds with this goddamn thing. So it's finally like, hello, Marshall. And he's saying, he's alive, isn't he? He's in there with you. Can we save him? How do we do it? And it just kind of like pauses for a second before saying like, it is possible. And then in brackets it says, you will not succeed. And he's saying like, what does that mean? So it says in brackets, there is only truth in existence. To attempt this will come at great cost. And again in brackets it says, are you prepared to lose everything? He's like, some things change, but the important things never do. Let's fucking go. So it just kind of like teleports him, I'm assuming, to a different dimension, a different part of space or something like that. So he's gone for now. And that's what I was saying, like this particular issue, like that whole thing like leading up to like them taking out Nathan's breathing tube, I was like, okay, this is pretty damn sad. But that part right at the end kind of seems to imply that like this alien entity can possibly save him, or at the very least like bring him back in some fashion, which is kind of what I assumed would happen. I didn't really know that it would get like this far along before like they finally revealed that. But I kind of figured like Nathan must be in some way, like it has to be some possible way for him to come back. You know what I mean? I kind of figured that was the case. I just didn't think that they would drag it out this long. So we'll see what ends up happening on the next in the next issue or whatever we're gonna see. Because I mean, the alien entity is basically telling Marshall like, yeah, it's possible, but you won't succeed. You won't be able to do it. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna fight like hell to actually make it happen. I don't know. We'll see what's going to come from that, but it just the whole issue, like with the whole like montage thing, like that can become very annoying, especially to someone like me. I don't really like those type of things in comics unless it's done to like the right effect. And here it was actually done properly. It was done to like evoke the right kind of emotion and everything. So I'll give it credit on that. It definitely did a good job of what it was trying to do. So I don't know, like I said, what's going to come from it coming forward. I don't really know what he's going to have to face up against in order to try and like rescue Nathan or whatever. But it should be interesting, especially if he is able to bring Nathan back and have him also be like powered in some sort of way. That would be kind of interesting. But I don't really know. I really don't know. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I think that's going to do it for me on this review. So if anybody out there has read this, do feel free to share your thoughts with me down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely make sure to like the video, make sure you're subscribed, share the video out because you know how much it means to me. But yeah, if you're done here, then go and read a book. And if not, well then I'll see you on my next video.